Now, we can't talk about marriage without talking about communication.
Right. Communication is everything. It's the foundation of any strong connection. But, sometimes I feel like the more I talk to my spouse, the less we're actually connecting. Do they talk about how to avoid that?
They do, and they emphasize that communication isn't just about talking.
It's about listening.
Yes, really listening, with intention, with empathy, trying to see things from your partner's point of view.
But what about when it feels like you're hitting a wall? Like no matter how clearly you try to communicate, your partner just isn't hearing you.
They have tips for that too.
Like what?
Using I statements, being mindful of your tone, your body language, avoiding interrupting.
It's so easy to get caught up in your own emotions and forget to actually listen.
They also talk about choosing the right time and place to have those tough conversations.
Right. Sometimes you need to step away from the heat of the moment.
Find a neutral space, calm down. They also suggest having those regular check-in conversations.
Ooh, what's that?
Just setting aside dedicated time to talk about the relationship, what's going well and what's not.
I like that idea. Because it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget to have those important conversations.
Exactly. And communication, it's a skill. It takes practice.
It's worth it though, right?
Absolutely. Good communication is key for resolving conflicts, for building intimacy.
Okay, let's shift gears. Finances. Always a fun topic.
Evie and Mina are very open about their own financial struggles, especially in those early years.
Money can be such a loaded topic. It's tied to our sense of security, our values, our dreams.
They emphasize communication, being on the same page.
Teamwork.
Exactly. Working towards those shared financial goals. They talk about creating a budget together, being open about your spending habits. It's about finding a system that works for both of you.
So it's not about one person controlling the finances. It's more about finding a way to blend your approaches.
Exactly, a way that respects both partners. And they emphasize that even financial challenges, those can actually strengthen a marriage.
Okay, I like that. How so?
It's about facing them together with, that spirit of unity, support.
It's like those challenges, when you approach them with the right attitude, can actually bring you closer instead of tearing you apart.
Precisely. And they have practical tips too, like setting a regular time to talk about money.
Oh, like a money date night.
Yeah, or using a budgeting app, maybe even talking to a financial advisor.
It's a good reminder that you don't have to do it all yourselves. There are resources out there, people to help.
And of course, they tie it back to their faith. They talk about trusting God to provide, being generous with what you have.
It's a good reminder that our finances are ultimately in God's hands. Our attitude towards money, it should reflect our faith right now.
Now, let's get into something that can be, a bit of a sore spot for some couples. Chores, household responsibilities.
Ooh, yeah, those everyday tasks. It's easy to get resentful if you feel like you're doing more than your fair share.
They actually emphasize having a system.
Oh, I like systems.
It doesn't have to be complicated. Even a simple chore chart or a shared calendar can help.
Makes everyone accountable.
Right. They also talk about having those conversations, what needs to be done, who's good at what.
So fairness doesn't necessarily mean splitting every single task right down the middle.
Exactly. It's about finding balance, taking into account each person's strengths, weaknesses, even how much time they have.
They make a good point. It's okay to ask for help.
Yes. It's not a weakness. It actually shows strength to be vulnerable.
You're a team. You're in it together, right?
Yeah.
Creating a home that feels supportive.
And as always, they bring in their faith, talking about serving each other, even in those little tasks.
So even chores can be an act of love.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about boundaries.
Boundaries are essential for any healthy relationship. It's about protecting yourself, setting those limits.
They talk about setting boundaries in all areas of marriage, from finances, time management, social media, even interactions with the opposite sex.
Creating a safe space where both partners feel respected. But how do you actually go about setting those boundaries?
They talk about clear communication, being assertive but not aggressive, using I statements like, I feel uncomfortable when, or I need some space.
It's about owning your feelings, expressing them in a way that invites understanding.
Right. And remember, boundaries aren't about controlling your partner.
It's not about that.
It's about creating a framework where both of you can feel safe.
It's about recognizing that you're both individuals with your own needs, and those boundaries help protect your well-being.
And they say it's good to revisit those boundaries as the relationship changes, as your needs change.
Things change over time. You have to adapt.
Exactly. It's about being flexible, but also staying true to those core values of respect, healthy communication.
So wow, we covered a lot today. Evie and Mina's 40 years of marriage. It's given us a lot to think about. What were some of the biggest takeaways for you?
I think their perspective on marriage, seeing it as a journey of growth. It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about facing them together. And with love, faith, commitment.
It's refreshing, isn't it? They're not presenting some perfect, problem-free ideal. They're saying, hey, it's going to be tough sometimes, but those tough times can make you stronger.
I think what makes their advice so valuable is their honesty. They're willing to be vulnerable, share their struggles, their wins.
It makes them so relatable, like, hey, we've been there too, we messed up, we learned.
They're so generous in sharing what they've learned.
So as you're listening, think about which of these lessons spoke to you. What could you apply in your own relationship? Maybe being more open with your communication, or finding little ways to connect every day.
And here's a final question to ponder. It's not explicitly in the book, but it builds on what we've talked about. How can you use your own talents, your strengths, to make your marriage reflect God's glory, like E.B. and Mina talk about?
That's a powerful question. And of course, we encourage you to pick up a copy of Abiding Love. Explore all 40 lessons. It's been such a pleasure deep diving into this with you.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep loving.